Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs in the co-captain's chair again today. Mr. Steve Fleck, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Howdy, howdy. Doing great, man. Yourself?
Doing good. Glorious Sunday. Got a nice cold beverage here in my new guitar koozie, thanks to S. Kiley Designs.
I love that. I don't know what I like better.
Might as well give props to the beer, right? So we get this glare. So this is a Courtyard Crusher courtesy. It's a light lager courtesy of Rushing Duck Brewery in Chester, New York. Got to give props to the local merchants, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Doing all right. Doing all right. So we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite songs of Dire Straits. So we did that ranking the album show a couple weeks back, which people loved, and now they want to hear what our favorite songs are, even though we talked about a lot of our favorite songs from the albums. But the trick is always to kind of put them in a list and say, all right, these are my 10 favorites. This one, you know what it was? I knew what all my top favorites were going to be. I just didn't know what order I was going to put it in. So it was more like a lot of like moving and shaking and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
Steve and I have each assembled our list, and we're going to rank. We're going to go from number 10 to number 1. And I'm going to have Steve kick us off with his number 10.
All right. Thanks, my man. I will start off with my number 10. It's going to be one everybody probably knows. It's going to be Money for Nothing from Brothers in Arms album. It's got, thanks for the graphic. Yep. It's got some nice chunky Les Paul guitar from Mark Knopfler. It's got some 80s synths, right? It's got Sting. Up until now, I didn't even know that the melody that Sting sings was all based around the MTV. I should have, because he says, I want my MTV, but the whole melody was based around that I want my MTV, that note structure.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I'm trying to say here.
Yep,
kind of bricking on that, but you get it. And so for me, even though he actually says the line, I thought that was pretty cool, and that's actually why he got the writing credit on it. So, but yeah, my number 10, Money for Nothing, good, strong, heavy Straits track, nice commercial, great lyrics, love the sarcasm, and that would be my number 10.
Cool. More about that in a minute. For right now, let's start off with a little solid rock from Making Movies. Good hard rock tune. Love the hook. A lot of great tracks on this album. And it's, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's pretty economical for a song from this time period, I would say. But, just a really cool tune. I dig it. I always knew it had to be in my top 10. It was just a matter of where to actually put it. But always dug that song. So solid rock from Making Movies is my number 10.
I like the song a lot. I have to agree with that. It's one of the shorter ones on the album. I don't have any issues with any of the songs on the album. We mentioned Lace Boys, which is, decidedly probably the least favorite on the album, but I still dig it, and I like the way it closes the album. And yeah, I agree with your choice. It's definitely on my album list for sure. So, good stuff.
Cool.
All right.
Number 9. What do you got?
Number 9. You do this every time.
I do it all the time.
And my son Trevor has been popping in my White Album CD in the car, and so I've been hearing a lot more than I want to of Revolution number 9. But I still, even though it's something only for a certain mood, it's it's Revolution number 9. So you got to listen to it. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, exactly.
So my number 9 goes to Sleeper album, On Every Street, and it's going to be the title track from On Every Street. Dig the moodiness of this, and like we had mentioned before, Pete, On Every Street, great album in many ways, a little inconsistent, probably their least consistent album, but nonetheless some great tracks on it. And to me, On Every Street is one of the top tracks on there, and there's a couple of really good tracks, solid tracks on the album that we mentioned last show. But On Every Street to me has that kind of hallmark of those later Dire Straits albums, in that it starts out very, very slowly, very melancholy song, and builds, and it's a great builder. And to me, the pinnacle of it is that riff at the end, that don, 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 don. Just love it. And forgot to make mention in the last show of Jeff Porcaro's drumming on that album. Just,
Yeah.
did the guy ever throw out a clunker on a tape anywhere? I don't think so. And he's just fantastic on this album. And, I believe he was asked to join and declined due to his Toto loyalty and touring. But why wouldn't you ask Jeff Porcaro to join your band?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. So on the album show, both of us, if memory serves me correctly, had On Every Street at the bottom of the ranking for the albums. But we both said it's a really, really good album. And it's amazing how many people chimed in and said, no, it's the best album they ever did. I mean, that always happens, right? So it's like, you might feel one album is the least successful or your least favorite or, whatever in a ranking. And there's always going to be people who think it's the best thing they ever did. But actually, a lot of people came out and supported that album. And we both like it a lot. I mean, I don't dislike it at all. I kind of like the other ones better. But anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so my number 9 was your number 10, Money for Nothing from Brothers in Arms. Yeah, I mean, it's a typical good 80s hard rock song. It's kind of a little different for them. You got the 80s synths and the drums and all that kind of stuff. But it's just such a irresistible, hooky song. Love the guitars. It's nice and crunchy. The video was great. I mean, like you said, the lyrics are all, really kind of cute and all that kind of stuff. So it's like one of those, how can you not really dig this song, So Money for Nothing, my number 9.
Yeah. And thing I forgot to mention about Money for Nothing. How about that build?
Oh, in the beginning. Yeah.
That riff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get chills when it builds and everything stops and that riff comes in. And what else can I say about that? Right. I mean, kind of wanted to mention that.
Yep,
all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we're on to my number 8.
Yep.
My number 8 is going to be from the Love Over Gold album. And it's going to be Private Investigation.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Just, real... typifying that album and that period. Very, very dramatic. And again, we touched on this before, very film noir to me. I hear that song in black and white with like Orson Welles behind the camera or something, filming one of those, old 40s film noir murder mysteries. And, to me, Private Investigations is just typical of that time period and a real successful piece from that time period. And, lots of dynamics. We mentioned Genesis last show about when you talk about dynamics, and we mentioned, of course, King Crimson, the kings of whatever they were. I want to say rock, but they weren't.
Right.
They had a piece of everything. And this song and this period is indicative of that real strong penchant for dynamics, and the song succeeds really successfully with in that aim, or rather in that goal.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, my number 8. Let's go to On Every Street for a little Fade to Black. I talked about this song when we did the album show, and I just really love hearing this band do kind of like a atmospheric slow blues track, which is what it is. And I think it's got some killer solos from Knopfler, and I love the vibe of the song, and I like it because it's so different. It's like did they do anything else in their entire catalog quite like this song? I don't really think so. And it really stands out to me, and they did it so well. It's like you almost wish, I would have loved to have heard kind of like a blues album from them, as weird as that may sound. But these guys just, I found them, I have always found this band kind of hard to categorize anyway, because they dipped their feet in so many different styles, and they really had a sound all their own. But I really thought it was cool hearing this kind of really kind of dark, slow atmospheric blues from them. And his vocals are really effective in it. I love the guitar solo. And so Fade to Black, my number 8.
Yeah. And I love Fade to Black. I think he played on that a big old fat Gibson L5, if I'm not mistaken, an oldie, probably knowing him from the 60s. And I really dig that song a lot. I think you and I talked about last show. There's a couple of those slow bluesy songs on Every Street. And folks, we don't hate On Every Street by any means. I think it's really a fantastic album. Good time to mention You and Your Friend, Iron Hand, and a lot of those slow atmospheric songs that are on the album, and even Ticket to Heaven, which I think is just extremely different for very much a Phil Spector kind of melodic 60s style of tune. And there's plenty of that stuff on every street. So dig your choice there, Pete. So I guess that brings us to my number 7.
Yes, indeedy.
All right, rolling along here from my favorite Dire Straits album, Making Movies, which Pete already touched on. It's going to be Espresso Love.
Good song.
What a riff. What a great riff. And again, those slamming drums, which I keep talking about, sometimes an engineer just gets it right. And we talked about those kind of heavy, bouncy, kind of really deep drums that you could get from some of the engineering and production in the early 80s. And you had mentioned 80 to around 83. And I think that's very accurate. And this song has got that. And when those drums come in, and that's Pick Withers, who said that he wasn't a rock drummer. I beg to differ. Yeah, he was a swing, jazz, blues kind of drummer, but he could play the rock. And he did on this song. Love it. Espresso Love, man.
Whole album. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to stay on the same album for mine next one. So Skate Away from Making Movies. Love it. I mean, the bulk of my top 10 could have been filled with stuff from this album, but I had to kind of, got to spread the love around a little bit, right? So, but Skate Away, just, man, it's what a quirky, clever lyric to the song, right? I like the way it kind of really blends just pure early 80s pop with rock. The arrangement is just genius. It's such if you listen to it, you can't get it out of your head type of song. And you can say that about a lot of tracks from this album. So, yeah, Skate Away. Love it. Always have. One of my favorites from the album.
Skate Away is fantastic. I love the song. It's so, and you hit it, it's so 80s, but in a good way. It's not dated to my ears, and it is just a fun, feel-good song, which you said, very quirky lyrics, kind of an odd subject. I mean, right? Talking about a skater girl. But, it was the 80s, and that was a really, really fine pop single. And I don't know if it was released as a single, but we won't go there. But yeah, I dig that song a lot, and that little refrain. Great stuff.
Yeah, that whole album, I like your choice of words, feel good album, because I think that whole album, for me anyway, and obviously for you as well, is a feel good album. You put that on, it's good vibes throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's got some atmosphere in it as well, as anything they did has to. But I agree with you. All right. So we're rolling along, brother. Number six from Steve is going to be Lady Rider on the TV. I'm looking on the lyrics, but what a great song. Yep.
Communique action going on there. Yep.
I don't think either of us find a Dire Straits album that we dislike. And I really do dig Communique a lot. I touched on the production, engineering, recording last time. I think it's fuller than the first album. First album was kind of snappy sounding. And it's a great sounding record, to be sure, the first album. And this one, I just think kind of, picks the sonics up a little bit more. And Lady Rider is just one of those, do you want to call it Sultans of Swing-esque? You could. Again, another kind of very quirky Knopfler lyric. Who knows exactly what it's about? He's always very vague, which I love. And but instrumentally and the way it just rolls along and kind of swings along, it's fantastic. And again, the creamy, Strat guitar solo and sounds and fills are fantastic. And I do want to mention in this section here, when we're talking about Lady Rider, the background vocals, and that would be the bass player, the big man. And his you can hear him clearly, Lady Rider on the TV, Lady Rider. So John Ilsley, props to him on that. And, a good example of that.
Yeah, exactly. More on that in a couple minutes.
Out.
Number 6, I'm going to go with the song that made them, Must Hear Band, the song that kind of broke them, and Little Sultans of Swing. It's got to be on this list somewhere. Some folks might have it higher, and I wouldn't argue that at all. I love it. I think I love other songs better, a little bit better, but I mean, it's an absolute classic. It's what got me listening to these guys originally. I think it's, where most people came on board with this band. And I will say that when these guys burst on the scene with this album and that single, did you ever hear anything like it before? No, right? I mean, it was very, very unique. Still to this day, you listen to Sultans of Swing and a lot of those early classics, and you're like, man, what a unique band. Unique sound, unique guitar player, unique vocals, right? The whole 9 yards. So, yeah, I mean, it's and this is an album for me. There's a couple of real classic songs on here. We'll get to that a little bit, but yeah, Sultans of Swing, my number 6.
Yeah, well, a good time for me to comment on Sultans of Swing because that's my number 5.
There you go.
And to your point, I was flip flopping those with Lady Rider, but yeah, Sultans of Swing. You said a mouthful with that. Truly unique, swingy, great feel. Like all of their early stuff had a certain feel, and this kind of set the blueprint for it. And I want to say Sultans of Swing was released as a single, didn't do all that well, and then they re-released it, and I don't know why. Somebody probably will, and you'll see it down in your comments later. I used to know, but I forgot. But they did re-release it. I want to say in '79, maybe. Album came out in '78. Re-released in '79, then it took off. So,
I think it found its home on like FM rock radio. That's kind of where it really started to gain steam.
That could be it. It might have found its home on FM rock radio, and then they decided it's so popular. Let's put it out as a single. Could be. I'm sure some of your crew will comment on that and give us the lowdown on that. But yeah, great track.
All right. So we are at number 5. All right. How about let's go to the Communique album for a little Once Upon a Time in the West. Great song, man. One of their grooviest tunes. I think I touched on it on our last episode. It's got this kind of bluesy reggae feel, which I love. The rhythms are just intoxicating. You got the guitar licks kind of swirling all over the mix. Just a brilliant, brilliant track, and I think one of their best lead-off cuts on any of their albums. I just absolutely have always loved this song. Again, from a really, really strong album. Yeah, I knew it was. There's a couple tunes on here that are like, we're going to talk about another one in a minute, but there's I think all these albums have like 3 or 4 like drop dead classics, and then a bunch of really strong tunes. And I think that's what made this list hard to put together, because I kind of knew which songs I wanted in my top 10, but you can only squeeze in 10. So if there's 3 or 4 drop dead classics that you absolutely love to death on every album, well, 10 slots ain't enough, right? So yeah. That's what we have honorable mentions for. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West, Communique, my number 5.
Love it. I'm going to continue with the Communique. And funny thing is, Pete, I'm sitting here looking at my little Excel that I put together, and I realized that, how as Excel goes, you have those numbers on the side for the rows. And I had top 10 as my number 1 row, and therefore I only had 9 songs. So I had to just do a little bit of cut and paste insert. That was difficult. I had to go back in and find another out of my honorable mentions. And so I just quickly decided that my number 5 would be from the same album. It's going to be Where Do You Think You're Going, which is a track that I do really, really like a lot. And again, it has that very slow acoustic intro, very moody spoken vocals, and picks up, builds, slow, kind of bluesy, maybe even a and then double time at the end. And just, I don't know, there's something about it when that clean guitar comes in at the end with the lead. Just groove works so well. The feel is so good. It makes it to my list today,
Well, that's the list that might change next week, right? Because that's what I always say. It's like, this is my list today. You ask me in a week or two, well, some of my honorables might pop in there. So, yeah, cool. Good choice. All right, so since you got caught up there, so why don't you go right into your number 4 as well, and then
I'll go into number 4, and not a surprise. Going back to "Love Over Gold" again, it's going to be the opening track, the opus known as "Telegraph Road." We touched on it last show. Very early Springsteen-y feel. Again, dynamics, up and down. Just loaded with hooks, right? Top to bottom, melancholy style hooks, upbeat hooks, and a build that I believe Knopfler still plays this song. He does to this day solo, and I saw him do it when I saw Dire Straits and when I saw Knopfler a couple of times. Telegraph Road is just such a great live tune, and why wouldn't it be with all those hooks and all of those crescendos and all those builds? And it builds to a extremely melodic guitar solo, which is something that's it's a lost art in pop rock music today. If there is any pop rock music today, I don't know. But that is very indicative of the time. And I love Telegraph Road to death, man. It is a journey. So, great track.
It's my number 4 as well.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to pick it from the Alchemy album. So this is disc 2, CD 2 from Alchemy, the live album. Yeah, I mean, as great as it is on the studio album, it's just even more immense on here. Majestic. You got that guitar extravaganza at the end, like you said. It's got all sorts of atmosphere. It's like, to me, like Telegraph Road is kind of like Dire Straits is like, prog pop epic, right?
Sure.
And it's just fantastic. So, by the way, a lot of folks chimed in on the album video about how much they love the Alchemy album, and two thumbs up for me on that as well.
I love the Alchemy album, and as long as you bring it up, there's some superior versions of songs that were done in the studio on that album. And funny because you mentioned it, that was Terry Williams behind the drum kit on that album, and he never recorded a studio album with Dire Straits, but he did record an EP with Dire Straits, which had the song featured called it was on the live album. It was on that album. Yeah, the name escapes me, but you're looking at it right now. You'll figure it out. It was the non-album track on there, and it was released as a single, I want to say, in about 83. It was a real upbeat tune. Maybe it was Two Young Lovers.
Two Young Lovers. That's the first track on this disc. Yeah.
Do you have that EP by chance?
No.
Yeah, pick that up if you can. It's got an incredible song on there, which is just, again, talk about a song that, a structure of a song that you haven't heard, and definitely haven't heard Dire Straits do before. It's something called Guitars. I'm thinking of Dwight Yoakam, Guitars, Cadillacs. It's something Cigarettes, and I can't think of it right now, but it's like 4 things, comma, comma, comma. And it is a wild song. You will truly dig it. But going back to that period, Espresso Love on that album is faster and just so energetic. And they bring in this
disc.
Yeah, they bring in this background vocal arrangement where it's an answer. You got Hal Lindes and John Ilsley singing backup, where Knopfler at the end is saying, "You want to espresso," and you hear the two guys going, "Espresso, maestro, hey maestro," which is not on the studio album. And I just thought it was a great ad. Since you mentioned
it worked.
So worked.
All right, you're number 3.
All right, so my number 3 is, let's see, and make sure I'm in the right spot here. Ooh. I'm going to go with Romeo and Juliet from Making Movies. Just, I don't know, you talked about Skate Away. Romeo and Juliet is unique on its own, and another one that he performs to this day, and another concert staple, and another odd arrangement with the tuned, I don't know what tuning he used, but it's the National Steel Dobro. And boy, what a unique track. And yet it hits you commercially, and has hooks like,
Yeah.
aplenty, and another great melody. How does he get such great melodies in his songs when, even more often than not, early on he was speaking the vocals?
Yeah.
It's very, it's a testament to the songwriting, I think. And he was just able. When I say he, I don't want to, lessen the impact of the band itself, but I mean, he was the songwriter, and he was, generally in charge, and he just knew how to build the song. And these songs on this album, Romeo and Juliet notwithstanding, all of them, were just great pop rock songs, and that's no exception. And that is, yeah, that could be number one for me, any day of the week.
It's a gorgeous song. It really is.
Mm.
It really is. All right. My number 3, let's go back to Communique for a little lady right to run the TV.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you said it all before. Fast-paced song, great chord changes, catchy vocal hooks, great leads. It's definitely very indicative of that early period Dire Straits sound, and I love it. It's just so catchy. So, yeah. Lady Writer, my number 3.
Awesome. Now, according to my backtracking here, I am up to number 1,
2?
not number 2, because I did Money for Nothing, On Every Street, Private, Espresso, Lady, Sultans, Where Do You Think You're Going, Telegraph, Romeo and Juliet would have been number 2. So
I got to get caught up. All right. So let me.
get up.
So my number 2 then is going to be Down to the Waterline.
Yeah.
First song from the first album. This song is a lot like Sultans of Swing to me. They're like almost like brother and sister. I think I like it more though, obviously, because it's ranking a little higher. I just love the laid back vibe. I think it really works. This whole album has that kind of laid back vibe, but it's like really catchy. And great chorus, great soloing. It's a little more compact than Sultans by like about a minute and a half, maybe something like that. But just love it. It's just a great intro, another great kickoff track, as most of these albums had. So Down to the Waterline, my number 2. Now back to you for number 1.
Yeah, great song, Down to the Waterline, from a great album. So many great tracks on there. Six Blade Knife, Down to the Waterline, Wild West End, just fantastic. In the Gallery, I mean,
Gallery's great. Yeah.
That is just an odd, very successful track. That's a great pick. All right, so for me, for my number 1, I'm going again back to my favorite album. I saw that flash of red down there, and here it comes. You can't fool me. Known you too long. There it is. My number 1 Dire Straits song, for these purposes, this day, this hour, Tunnel of Love, from Making Movies. I just think that's the pinnacle of that period, and that period to me is my favorite period. I love the period before. I love the period after, and this to me just really, really does it. I mean, from that keyboard, the Hammond organ intro, to that blistering heavy riff that comes in, and his fills on this album. He changed his guitar sound up on the album, got a little crunchier, right?
Yep.
Turned up the gain on his amp a little bit, and when that first guitar fill comes in, again, up the spine comes the adrenaline, and that is like, all right, the guitar has evolved, the sound has arrived, and this is the sound that I want right now, and it's such a rock sound, but it's still tasty, and it's still, it's not up to 11, but it's crunchy enough to let the personality shine through. And that's what you've got with the fills on this album. Back in the day, I used to try and replicate those as best I could, and just try and learn some of his technique. And invariably, Tunnel of Love would be the song that I would pop on to try and replicate, because the riffs are not extremely complex. Like, you want to talk about Sultans of Swing or some of those heavy Fuel solos and things like that. This one, they're a little more basic, but the touches that he adds to them are just that's Men from the Boys, and that's what Mark Knopfler could do, let alone write the riffs. And so Tunnel of Love, number 1, just love it to death, never get sick of it. Another great builder and a great emotional ride. Great song.
My number one as well. I'm sure that's not surprising to you. Yeah. Catchy, epic, rocking, soaring guitar, heavy, majestic. And let's not forget those majestic piano lines, man, in this song as well, right?
Roy Bittan.
Right? It's just that kind of is like the icing on the cake. So, yeah, that's my number one as well. Got a couple honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Oh, I just happened to. Geez. It was a big hit, and I still like it to this day. And it's Walk of Life. It's just it works, and it's a great live track, very bouncy. Sultans of Swing. Okay, that made it to my top 10. So Far Away is another one. Really dig it.
Yeah.
Industrial Disease. I already mentioned the tracks from the first album. Once Upon a Time in the West, News is a great song from Communique. The title track I love. Angel of Mercy could have made my top 10. Probably should have. Loved that track. Solid Rock, Skate Away, Industrial Disease. They said that Love Over Gold, the song. Your Latest Trick, One World, Brothers in Arms, the song. Heavy Fuel, Ticket to Heaven, Iron Hand, The Bug. Well, The Bug I don't really dig that much. The Bug was a single. That's why I threw it down there. But it's a little too derivative for me. But When It Comes to You, I love a lot. I love a lot of that country stuff. And Calling Elvis, too. That is to me, it was a little too left field for the single. And I think that might have started it off on the track that the album eventually went on. Very left field. So,
Yep.
Great stuff. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, you named a lot of the ones that I had. Angel of Mercy was on my list. Espresso Love. I mean, Espresso Love probably is my number 11.
Mm-hmm.
Romeo and Juliet. Love that. Private Investigations. Also just outside my list. Industrial Disease. Kick Ass. Your Latest Trick. So Far Away. Heavy Fuel. Planet of New Orleans.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I have Calling Elvis on my list too because I dig that as well. But yeah, a lot of great songs. A lot of
Absolutely.
great songs.
Yeah.
So there you have it, everybody. Top 10 songs from Mr. Fleck and myself for Dire Straits. You know the drill. In the comments and feedback below, list your favorite 10 tracks in the order that you like them. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. We all hear these songs differently. We all love them differently. So I want to thank Steve Fleck for coming on the show once again. But he's not going anywhere. So stay tuned because coming right up momentarily, we're going to do the same thing, except this time with the discography of the Outlaws. We're going to pick our favorite 10 tracks from Southern rock legends, the Outlaws. So that's coming right up. Stay tuned. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. If you like what you see, you want to donate to the channel, click on the Ko-Fi link below in the album description below. We've also got merchandise link there as well. And visit us on our website at www.seatranquility.org. So for Steve Fleck, I'm Pete Pardo. See you guys real soon. Top 10 songs of the Outlaws. Take care. Bye-bye.